not in the chat room. It's www.selfawareness.com. Talk a little bit about what, because well, actually I'm curious myself, so I need you to back up a little bit, because you had this intense spiritual experience, and you've obviously always been someone drawn to that, like you were describing, but then you went into the road of finance, and like you were saying, it was about serving others for you and all of that, but it's just still an interesting detour. And then obviously now you've come back to full-time teaching.
Well, it actually wasn't a detour, though.
Okay.
It was an integral part of the training. And matter of fact, that's one of the key components. It's fun to share, if you don't mind me jumping in.
No, I do. I love it.
The Tatri came to me and he said, look, the shift is going to occur in the West. In other words, there's an enlightenment occurring of the population at large. But he goes, the center of this shift is in the West. It's actually in California. And I was picked by 3 different teachers specifically because they said you speak the language. They didn't just mean English. They said you speak the language of money. You got to connect with people at where they're at. And no one wants to think that money is their God, but yet it's so endemic in our culture, it blinds us. And that's why we get into the situations we do. And so what I wanted to show people is that there aren't 2 different worlds out there. There isn't a spiritual world and a material world. We got to bring higher awareness into every facet of our life, into your love life, into your family, and with your kids, and every facet. It's just connecting spirit, soul to soul. When you're on purpose, everything comes together naturally anyway, right? So we're here to help each other. You help by coaching people and keeping them conscious, essentially, don't you? You're helping them raise their consciousness. That's the way I would say it, because I know you and I know your work, and I know you're conscious, and you work at being conscious, and you help others be conscious. So as we help each other to become more conscious, the world becomes more conscious, and we're seeing this in our lifetime. It's an exciting time.
So, and I loved how you corrected me with that. It wasn't a detour. It was just an important part. You had to go down that path to learn what you learned, and then to be able to reach the people that you needed to reach. So that's such an important lesson for any of us that have gone down different paths and then maybe labeled it as a detour and said, well, why did I do that, or I wasted time doing that, and this is what I really should have been doing.
They made a mistake, and it may not have been a mistake. You created whatever you needed, because everything you experience is teaching you something about yourself.
Right. Yeah. So, and then at what point did you decide to found your center?
When my teacher asked me to. See, what had happened is I'd read all these books and studied all these religions and sat with all these gurus and did all this meditation and thought I had all these answers, but I still hadn't found my bliss. I wasn't in the bliss all the time, and so there was this point where I finally had to let go of the me that was doing, or thinking it knew, or thinking it didn't know, and then I just said I need a teacher. And when my teacher appeared in a vision, and the very next day I saw the image of what I saw in my vision on a poster in L.A. I just happened to be in Los Angeles by coincidence, right? Something drew me up there, and I saw this flyer, and as soon as and he was going to be at this Church of Religious Science, I think it was, in Glendale, of all places. And I drove up from Laguna Beach, and I sat with him, and as soon as I sat there, I just got blissed out. And it turns out he's from this line of Tamil siddhas that have been in a tradition that's over 8,000 years old. It ends up being the oldest living lineage on Earth. And I apprenticed under him. I was so taken by the love and the bliss and what opened. It was like all my effort of doing and trying, it just, all of a sudden something opened up for me. And so now I've found what I was looking for. I just want to share it with everyone else. And it's not an understanding. It's something connecting. It's connecting with something you already are. But and we kind of have a sense of knowing it, but not everybody lives in it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's like, I like the way Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Power of Myth, he said, follow your bliss. There's a bliss that lies within us. And when we connect with our purpose, we connect with ourselves, we connect with our purpose, and our life unfolds in a different way than if we were just chasing after things our mind thinks it needs. You see the difference?
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a purpose-driven life. It's just living. But you see, there's a kingdom of heaven right here on earth. That's really the point. It sounds crazy to say it that way, but it's true. There's a state of consciousness where you realize God never left. Whatever you want to call God, and to me it's just the same God. It's just God, right? But how could it have left any place in the universe, and how could we go through our life without knowing its presence within us and around us, not knowing how it works within us, not knowing us, essentially? So I think we've come into an age where people are beginning to realize that there's something to be realized. And once you've realized that there's something to be realized, then your realization has begun. You're in the midst of your own enlightenment. So everybody that's listening to this is in the midst of their enlightenment, or they wouldn't be here. There's some part of them reflecting on what this means, and that's literally activating that inner knowing from within them, that sixth sense, as it were. Because we all have a sense, you know, the answers lie within you, right?
Right.
When you have a sense of that, you know if something's true or not, you trust that feeling inside. You hear